The countdown. I love it. Hey, everybody. I'm Lauren Kalil with Morning Chalk Up. And today we have CrossFit Games athlete, but my favorite way to call her, she is the queen of spooky season and pumpkin spice lattes. Dani Speegle, how's it going?
Oh, so good. So good. You gave like a pause, like after my little introduction, you were like, butt. And I thought we were going to start talking about my butt. I was like, yep, here we go.
That's how we know that we have started the video.
Right on into it.
We're just jumping right into spooky season, but pumpkin spice lattes, all of your favorite things.
Essentially my life.
I'm actually kind of surprised that you didn't show up to the interview today in some kind of like costume or face paint or something fun.
Dang. In hindsight, I should have done that. I have a spooky.
We can start it over.
We can start it over. He's not looking so spooky. He's just he's asking for attention. So
well, you can bring him on. We can see him for a minute.
Amazing. Okay.
Why not?
Why not? This is Mochi.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I love him. Oh, he's even got like the arms. He's ready.
He's like just waking up from a nap. He likes to nap in my clothes. I'm in my closet because I'm like redoing my closet, and so I've just been in here, and so he naps in my clothes. So he's upset that I'm waking him up, but we'll just let him go back to sleep.
Yeah. You're dipping into his time. This is his time. It's about him.
It's always his time. Like, let's just get that straight. It's him first, above all else, above everything in life, and then comes anything to do with me.
Right. And speaking of you, I mean, I love following you on social media because you're so honest and even like normal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Between like you loving and vibing off of spooky season and the pumpkin spice lattes, I can only imagine how many people message you about like what recipe you go. I see you posting something different. Do people go crazy when you get at Starbucks and ask them for all of these like crazy Halloween flavors?
Yeah, I do get a lot of feedback with that, and I love it. Like it's totally great. It's better than like someone asking for like feet pictures. I'll talk about coffee and food like all day. So like right now it's great because that's what my DMs are full of right now is people asking for like pumpkin recipes. And so they're like laying off like all the creepy stuff. So it's great. Spooky season is not creepy. So that's like
the irony of that is kind of funny. So when do the creepy DMs start to slide back in?
Tomorrow. Like I'm waiting for it. Like they still sneak in every once in a while, but I'm sure they'll go back to being just completely that very soon. So looking forward to that. Hopefully I can get something for Thanksgiving. Like we'll just go all fall, or then like pumpermint. Oh my God, just had a stroke. Peppermint, like peppermint mocha season for like Christmas and stuff. Hopefully we'll just like we'll get on that track.
Okay, yeah, we can just like slide right past the creepy messages.
Yeah. Here's to hoping.
Right, exactly. Fingers crossed. So how has off season and, resting, and I know you were in Hawaii for a little bit and you've just been, taking some time for yourself. How's that been so far?
Amazing. I always am probably one of the few athletes who really, really, really enjoys and like takes advantage of like off-season stuff. I feel like everybody just like dives right back in. They're like, okay, well, we're going to have really structured like off season. Then we're going to start, on this date, we're going to start like really getting back into it. And I just like really am like, well, my body just did not feel like it for a really long time. My mind wasn't there. So I enjoy like my time off in the off season. And I enjoy not being on my macros, and I enjoy traveling and not feeling the need to like go to the gym twice a day and trying new things. And so I love the off season. It's been going great. I'm super happy over here. I have gotten back into like full-time training as of now. The first thing I plan on doing is Wodapalooza in January. So, it's time to start suffering again. So like I'm still like halfway in, halfway out. Like I'm still enjoying like all my pumpkin recipes, but I have to go to the gym. So it's just like it's best of both worlds at this point.
Is it hard to make that transition? Because as you said, you go full throttle with the like normal non-professional athlete things, in the sense of you sit around and you watch movies, you have the donut, all of these things that people wouldn't think a professional athlete would do. But at the end of the day, like you have to have an off season too. But is it hard to then make the transition into having a structure and counting your macros?
Yeah, of course. It's always like just like a shock to the system. You know, you're sleeping in, you're like eating whatever you want, you're just kind of doing whatever you want. And then all of a sudden there's like a day where it's like, okay, well, you know, now you got to get up at 7:30 again. You got to start doing like XYZ. You got to start training this many hours a day. You got to start, you know, working on weaknesses. You got to start preparing for competitions. And so, you know, that first, like, I'm exhausted. Oh my gosh. I'd always like, it takes like probably a little over a month for, you know, my body to get acclimated to like the volume again. And I'm like so tired. Like it's just, I've become like this zombie for like about a month and a half. And then my body kind of, you know, like I said, acclimates to, you know, the different sleep schedule. So instead of like going to bed at like midnight, like I'm now old lady again. I go to bed at like 8. So it's, you know, you acclimate to like the different things, the different nutrition, the different training schedule, and it's all great. And, you know, both off and on season is fun in its different ways and I enjoy it. But yeah, it is. It's like a shock to the system, especially that first week. I'm like falling asleep in random places because I'm just so tired. The other day I like went to the grocery store and fell asleep, like just after grocery shopping. I was like,
it's really exhausting.
Like frozen fruit in my car and I was like, sweet. Like woke up 45 minutes later. I was like, how did someone not wake me up? I have drool on my chin. It's so that's great.
Oh my gosh. Do you ever take naps during the day?
Yeah.
Besides like random naps in the grocery store?
Oh no, I'm definitely like, I nap. I love naps. I'm like a pro napper. Love naps. Yeah. I really try to get in. I try to get in like a nap, like just a quick 20-minute like rest like every single day. But there are days where I just need to take like a solid like 3-hour nap and I'll just be like comatose for that time. So yeah, I nap. Short answer, I nap.
So making that transition back into, you know, training, getting ready for Wodapalooza, your season obviously didn't end the way that you wanted it to, with problems with your ankle during event 5, those rope climbs. Take us back to the CrossFit Games, and in that moment when you felt that your ankle was injured, did you at that moment know that that was going to be the end of your season?
No, I don't. I think it's just like one of those things where whenever something like that happens, you just kind of like immediately start thinking like, no, it's gonna be fine. Like someone will tape it or like, I don't know, put numbing cream on it or just something. Like you just start thinking of like all the things. Like you just, and at the time when it like originally happened, I wasn't even I was just thinking like, how am I gonna make it through this, like the rest of this workout? And then like once the workout was done and like the adrenaline kind of started rushing out of my body and I started like actually feeling the pain, that's when I was like, oh, like I don't know how this is gonna go. Like I went back and got like the MRI and X-ray and all that kind of stuff. And I was still hopeful. Afterwards, I spent like an hour and a half like trying to do everything from like taping it like tight to like taking painkillers to just doing everything that I could. And I tried to, the next event was like, of course, a running event. So I tried to like, you know, tape it up, let it rest. And then, you know, essentially like was like, okay, well, just go try to do a warm-up jog. And I couldn't, I couldn't. So like that was the point that I withdrew and like that sucks. And at that moment, that's when it kind of started becoming real for me that my season was over. And it wasn't like I had lost just this season. So I think, you know, people don't know my full story all the time. So for me, I've had the same ankle give me issues 3 years in a row now at the games. And it's like one of those things where you're just kind of sitting there like, are you kidding me? So in 2019, I went in with like a pretty bad ankle injury. And that was the year where like the first 8 events were nothing but running. And I was like, okay, cool. Love that. And so I got cut that year. And so I was like, okay, well, obviously we have to like figure out my ankle issues. I have to like work on running. It's a weakness. We're just going to do it. I trained running so much, was in such a good state. And then, of course, like 2 weeks before the online like CrossFit Games in 2020, I, in pure Dani fashion, was doing double unders and I stepped on my own foot and like completely like fucked up my ankle again. And so
No.
I had like this ankle injury, and like there was like, double under, like heavy rope double unders, like with the drag rope.
Mm-hmm.
And there was that Nancy event with like all the running and the burpees. And I was just like, I like hadn't been able to train like essentially like 2 weeks leading up to the games, and then was like thrown into the CrossFit Games. And I wasn't mentally there. My ankle definitely wasn't like wanting to like do all of this stuff. So then of course, like I didn't make the cut to go to the ranch. So essentially like I was
Mm-hmm.
cutting it. So 2 years in a row. And now I'm looking at this games, and everything was going well. And I was just like, okay, well, if I'm looking at all these events, honestly, the first 5 are the ones where I'm like, like this doesn't look like, Dani workouts. Like I just have to like, it's like survival mode. Like I'll do okay, but we'll just like get through it. And everything else in the entire weekend, I was like, this is my jam. Of course, the universe was like, haha, sucker.
Aw.
It was like 3 years in a row with the same ankle, same exact, like, it was just like, it would took me a while to kind of like let that go. Like I spent a lot of time feeling sorry for myself and like blaming
Mm.
everybody, but like just it being sports, and in sports you get injured. So I was sitting in my hotel room just like sobbing, eating too much ice cream, and I was just like in a state. And it's hard. It was really hard to like go through all that and like watch the rest of the weekend unfold, especially with
Mm.
like events like a max snatch. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that sucks. Like,
Yeah.
this really sucks to watch, especially when it's something where like I could have gone out there and like power snatch 205 and no one
Mm-hmm.
like failed that way. So that one hurts. A running and a clean event, not being able to do that one hurts. So it's like so frustrating. So it took me a while. I think that's why mentally it took me a while to kind of get back into it. Like I was very, very much like, I'm not even touching CrossFit for a really long
Mm.
time. I just felt like mentally ready to get back into it. But I have a really good support system here. So it made it easy for when like that decision came around. Everyone around here was just like, okay, well, it's time. Like, we'll do it now. I'm like, great. So yeah, I owe it a lot to like the support system I have out here.
Having a great support system, and the good news is bad things happen in threes, and you have that out of the way now.
No, gotta knock on some wood somewhere. Like,
Yes.
seriously. But
You're getting ready for the next season. That's behind you. What was the actual diagnosis of your ankle from the CrossFit Games, or even from the other seasons too?
yeah. So for this year, I went in with like a ligament that was already partially torn, and like I've been working on rehabbing it and just kind of like strengthening everything around it, so it wasn't like a big issue. With what happened, the rope just got caught around my ankle, and so my ankle was already twisted, and I came down on it sideways, so it just like popped. And so one ligament was totally like torn, and then there was another one that was partially torn, and then the one that was like totally torn off like took out some like bone fragments. And so I
Mm-hmm.
had like free floating bodies, like things that are just like serrating like pieces in there. And there was like, I mean, like pretty much there was just like junk. It wasn't like I broke one thing. I did like partially and like totally tear like a ligament, but it wasn't like a broken ankle. It was just like, there was 8 different things that had damage to it. And so like my ankle was just essentially useless. And so I've had to get like PRP injections to help like strengthen the ligaments that are like still there. And I've been doing rehab and working with a lot of people here to like just like strengthen it up. Last week was actually my first week doing any kind of like running or jumping. So it was like a big week for me. So we're getting back. We're like slowly getting back into it. For a while there, we thought the surgery might be like a route that I needed to take, but I just decided that I'd rather not. I'd rather just continue to strengthen it. I had really good results doing stem cells with my labrum care. So I'm always someone who's going to avoid surgery if at all possible. And so it was possible in my case. So that's what I decided to do.
So now you're full training again. I think a couple weeks ago I saw you snatch deadlift into a snatch at 220.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
See, the max snatch coming back to my heart, right?
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that weight alone has to be able to your ankles have to be able to support that. So you're not feeling any like discomfort or like issues anymore with training, whether it's lifting heavy or running or jumping or starting to wean into it.
No, I still have like discomfort and like pain with like events. So like, heavy weight, if it's something like an Olympic lift where I have to like move and do like a power stance, like I still get a little twinge here or there. If it's just squatting where I can just like stay stationary, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like running and jumping, things where like box step overs, or I'm having to like step down off of a box with like weight in my hand, burpee box jump overs, things like that still cause me a little bit of discomfort, but that's just to be normal. I mean, even like, at your very, very base level, like a rolled ankle, when you first come back, it's just stiff and it like hurts after a while. It just takes used to getting, back into like an active lifestyle, or especially like if you're doing something with like volume. So yes, I still feel pain, but it's manageable at this point, and hopefully will be, like close to like that 95, 100% by the time January rolls around. So just kind of keeping fingers crossed for that.
Yeah. What does Wodapalooza training look like for you right now?
Right now, it's just kind of like about getting volume in. So just like getting accustomed to getting volume under my belt, and, going in the morning, going at night, adding in some, right now I can't do anything like longer runs. My ankle can't handle that right now, but just like getting into running again, because Wodapalooza always has like a pretty big run event. Swimming, like getting back into swimming, because
Mm-hmm.
we'll definitely be in the bay. So, things like that, just kind of like outdoor training, odd object. One of the things I love about Wodapalooza is they always usually like tend to be on the heavier side. So like heavy barbells, heavy dumbbells, heavy sandbags. So just, looking at past years, the competition, and just taking away from that and adjusting training to that.
So when looking at the kind of off season, since a lot of things have shifted and just, it seems like the past 3 years, every year has been a little bit different, especially with the pandemic last year and now getting back to in-person competitions. What does the rest of the off season look like for you? Or is it going to be Wodapalooza and then right into getting ready for the open and the actual CrossFit season?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like we don't really have a choice. It's not like we have those sanctioned events anymore. So like
Yeah.
after Wodapalooza, like that's about it. It gets into the open and quarterfinals, semifinals, and the games. Which is kind of like a big pain point for me. I don't like the restructure. I think it takes away a lot of opportunity for people who want to be professional in the sport. I actually like just talked about this with John on like Make Wads Great Again.
Yeah. We
But
love John.
yeah, so I actually just talked with him about this, and the restructure, I understand like how it brings the community together. It allows for like people to, go and cheer on their regional athletes. It allows for people to easier access to traveling for competitions. But if you look at someone like me, like when I went into this in 2019, like that was my breakout year. And the only reason why it was such an upward trend for me, and why I got so much recognition and um almost like clout from that year, is yes, I performed well, but I was just forcing myself like to be in people's mouths. Like I went to every single like sanctioned event that I could that year. I, did Wodapalooza, Strength and Depth, Rogue, Granite Games. I mean, I did them all. Like I Dubai. Like I mean, I tried to do every single one that I could, and that gave me the ability to really like, put myself out there for the CrossFit community, for sponsors. And so like that was kind of like the year where I was able to really kind of see like a, professional sport. And now it's over. Someone who was in my position in 2019, they have one shot. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that if there's like someone who, makes it through every single stage and like makes it to the CrossFit Games, but let's say, gets, 15th through 20th, in that range, they're not going to get the media that they would need to be able to be like, hey, I made it to the CrossFit Games. Like, I mean, I'm sure like who placed 18th at the CrossFit Games? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
And like I could tell you top 10. Like I could like go through and like tell you that. But as soon as you kind of get past that, it's almost like, okay, like cool, you made the CrossFit Games, but like you got no media, so whatever. And so it takes away a lot of opportunity. It takes a lot of it just takes away from like the professional side of things. And I feel like I understand why we want to make this like a community sport, but at the same time, there has to be separation between like the community aspect and like the athlete aspect. Like everyone, like if you just take any other sport, like like little league, it's awesome that there's a community around little league, but you don't see little league players and MLB players on the same field, but they can
Hmm.
create a community together and have events together. But it's just different. And of course, CrossFit's young. Like it's been around for like less than 20 years, whereas things like baseball and football have been around for hundreds of years. Like I get that
Hmm.
it's, but the restructure of everything like thus far really was like we're all about the community and we just do not care at all about the athletes or people who want to make it a professional, so like a professional side of things. So that sucks. That always sucks. So
So if Dani Speegle was in charge of restructuring the game season, would you specifically go back to the year? Your cat can join us,
he
Mochi.
literally no, he just like he wants out now. Like of course he wants out of the room now. Like now that I'm gonna let
You're
him
on
out.
his time, remember? That's fine.
Okay, now he doesn't want to be let out. I can't with him. Okay, so what
Can't
was
make
your
up his
question?
mind. Yeah. So if you were in charge of the CrossFit Games season, would you go back to sanctionals, or is there something else you have in mind that you think would be better suited for people like you who are being professional athletes and trying to, get your face out there, get your name out there, and make money?
I think so. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have all the answers because I definitely don't. Because I know that there were problems with the sanctional like setup.
Mm-hmm.
One is obviously like I at the time was able to travel to a lot of events. Like I already at the time was able to somewhat be a professional in the sport. So, the average person who works a regular job can't be like, okay, well, I need all this time off to go to Dubai and London and Miami, and at the time Rogue was in Ohio. So like what at the time,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just be like, okay, well, I want all this time off to like go and like compete at this thing. Like, a regular, person who like manages a company is gonna look at this and be like, no, like you're fired. So like that's
Yeah.
a and also like if you're not looking at that logistically, like fiscally, like, financially you can't pull that off,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're an athlete who also has like a family and you're paying a mortgage, you're paying for your kids, you're paying for like, XYZ. It's hard to be like, okay, yeah, well, let me just fork over, thousands of dollars to go to Dubai and maybe I get like a return on the money or just, maybe I break even because Dubai is a well paying event. But if you don't do like top five, like you may not break even on like plane tickets, hotels. And if you don't have sponsors helping you out, like it becomes an expensive trip. So there's a lot of things that was wrong with the sanctional, like setup as well. But I do think the big thing is there has to be separation between the community and the professional side. I think that both have to be just taken seriously. And I'm not saying that the structure that is, in place now can't be, adjusted a little bit. It's not like the whole slate has to be wiped clean. But I think if you want athletes to really continue to make this a professional sport, like you have to take care of the athletes. Like every single other like sport that is a profession, the organization that runs the sport pays the athletes. That's where their salary comes from. And then they can get, side deals with like different brands or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, if you want to be a professional in the sport of CrossFit, it's all from the brands you work with. It's not like, CrossFit Incorporated is paying you to be a CrossFit athlete. And so I think like, eventually it has to move to something like that. And that'll take years. And that's not something that they can just be like, yeah, of course we want to do that. Let's just, do it in 2022. It's not going to happen in 2 months. But I think like, an athlete union is a really good place to start. I think having people, there are a lot of good minds in CrossFit, a lot of people that have been around since day one that have been in the space for, 15 plus years. And I think if people wanted to get serious, they could gather the right people and the right minds to make it happen. But I think there's been so many other things that have gone on in the sport of CrossFit in the past like year and a half, where it's like we're just trying to, get our feet out, under us again with, the pandemic and COVID and the, scandal that happened with like Greg Glassman. I think we're just all trying to like get a breath of fresh air. And so hopefully I have high hopes for Eric Rosa. Like I got to meet him and like sit down with him for a little bit, and I like what he's doing thus far. I think he's done great things with like the community and with CrossFit in general. But like usual, I feel like the professional side has kind of like been put off to like the side and just been like, we'll deal with them when we deal with them. And I, in a way, I understand like we're such a small part of like a huge community. Like we're like less, like much, much less than 1% of the CrossFit. Get it. But I'm also not going to sit here and pretend like the professional side isn't important, because as much as we love the community and as much as we aspire to be like that mom with 4 kids who still finds the time to come to the 7 a.m. like CrossFit class and like stay healthy, like people do admire people like that. But you find that people really look up to the professional athletes, and they're the reasons why they're like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go to the class every single day. And just like any other sport, like little kids have posters of LeBron James. Like I was like, who's about like I was like, who's a basketball player? Oh man, whoop. I was like, I'm wrong. But so you have like there always is that like importance of having professional athletes and have something like that like reach goal like that. Something that might not happen, but is something to aspire and dream up to. So the professional side is super important, and I think because it may not be the direct like money maker, like it doesn't say like there's not like a correlation to CrossFit signups compared to like people that saw this CrossFit athlete at the CrossFit Games. Like you can't, you'll never be able to like work the numbers in that sense, but emotionally everyone knows it. So it's like it's hard to like, create a business plan off of like feelings. And just kind of like one of those things that everyone understands within a sport. So again, I don't even have close to a few answers. Like I definitely don't have all the answers on how to fix all this, but I know that there are minds in the sport that could come together and figure it out. And so I'm just hoping that conversations like this spark that change. So I'm here for it. I'm here waiting for it. I doubt that like the true changes that I think every professional wants to see will happen in my competitive career. I think this is more of like a, at best 5-year plan. And then, at the worst, like a 10 to 15 year plan. Cause like I said, CrossFit is just so, so young, and it needs like a lot to be able to change and be a true professional sport. So we'll see. I'm excited to see like what the future holds, but I have high hopes, but we'll see if it like actually happens.
Do you think that you're then going to be done in the next 5 years?
No, I don't think.
What I just heard.
No, I meant in like a sense, like in truly, competitive, like running for like podium at the CrossFit Games. I think 5 years is where like I personally not if like I had nothing else in my life. I think that I could go for a really long time. I think women are I think you can look at Sam Briggs and like women can do it forever if they wanted to. But I also think like, eventually I do want to like start a family, and I see athletes come back. Like look at Annie. She just did it. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, she did.
So I also watched her entire journey and how like emotional that whole thing was to like
I get chills right now thinking about it.
Like what a stud for like, we'll just put that out there. Like, damn. But
goals.
Watching that journey, and even like Kara's journey, and how much they had to give up and how much they had to sacrifice. And you look at someone like, Kara had the worst run of it at the CrossFit Games. She had to travel all the way here without her family, and like her mind wasn't in it. She missed her kid, and like I feel like I'm not mentally strong enough to like handle something like that. Like when I become a mom, like I have a family, like that's got to be like that's just got to be it for me. And so maybe like after a few years, I'd come back, like do the team thing, have some fun. So I don't think 5 years I'm done. And things change all the time. But I think if things were going to change in the CrossFit space, like I was talking about, people are going to invest in the new up and coming athletes. It's just the truth. you look at any other sport, and the ones with like the big deals are, you know, the younger ones who are going to be around for a while. I mean, like Tom Brady is like the person that like throws that out the window, but he's the only one. There are a few out there, but if I'm being realistic, if CrossFit all of a sudden within the next 5 years becomes, you know, this huge corporation that pays its athletes like any other like professional sport, like probably in that time frame, I'm not going to be the ones that they're going to be like, you know, calling out to. It's going to be like the younger generation that everyone is like looking to at that point. So just realistically, but
Sure.
no, I don't have plans of like retirement anytime soon or the next 5 years. I'll go as long
Okay,
as,
good.
yeah, I'll go as long as I can in any way that I can until I just like absolutely fall apart. And I hope to come back later, like team masters, like after I've like settled and gotten into the routine of, you know, family life.
Mhm.
I'll definitely like do it. But yeah, no, I'll be around for a while. Don't worry.
Good. I wanted to clarify that just
Yeah,
in
yeah.
case anybody was wondering. I wanted to make sure we touched on that.
Yeah.
But between you and some of the other,
We'll cut this off like right at that time, and like there'll be the new
you'll never
head,
know.
like, yeah, Dani's retiring. I'll be like, of course.
That's not true. They didn't finish watching the interview.
I'll be like, oh, gotcha.
So do you think with some of the changes that we've already seen Rosa make with CrossFit, that if you and some of the other athletes were to collectively get together and talk about some of these concerns to make it more professionally or more professional, do you think that there could be productive conversation where you could kind of get the ball rolling in the direction that you're looking to see CrossFit go?
I think absolutely. He's definitely like a type of man that has open conversations. Like he's not someone to like shut a door because it's not on his agenda. And I
Mm.
think someone who will have any kind of conversation with anyone about essentially like anything. Like he's definitely not closed-minded, and he doesn't want to like shy away from anything. I think that he was put in a position where, you know, he got into this company and had 70,000 things to deal with. And I think that that man is like so busy. And I think
Yeah.
that he probably has these ideas on a list, but at this point, they're 500th on the list of like the shit
Mm.
show that was like going on at this point. I think he has a lot of other things to deal with, but he definitely would be someone that would have a conversation about it. But I think it takes more than just like, you know, some athletes like sitting down and like talking with the CEO. Like you need investors, and you
Mm.
need, you know, retired athletes talking about their experiences, and you need the new up and coming athletes fighting for change, and you need, you know, so many different people in so many different realms of the sport that are just done with being complacent. And so you need the exact right group at the exact right time with the exact right backing for something like this to start changing. So again, like I'm hoping that the more and more that athletes will have conversations like this, that the more the word will get out that like it's something that we want, and the right minds will get together and come up with a plan, structure a plan, you know, XYZ that will happen. But I think, you know, having conversations like this helps, but I don't think
Mm.
it's going to take more than just, you know, like a couple athletes like going to the CEO and being like, please make this happen. Like, you know, as much as I wish that that would, I would write the nicest letter if I thought that that would be like the only thing that was needed. So,
Yeah.
but I do think that change will happen eventually. Just it's how hard people want to push for it. And as much as I hate to admit it, there's like a lot of people who are in the professional side who are probably like, you know, comfortable enough to where like
Mm.
why try to rock the boat? And so the sad truth of it is like, I don't know. I think there was like a missed opportunity when everything was kind of like falling apart. Like we had a chance like for the athletes to come together and like create something, but it just didn't happen. And I think that was the opportunity to really like fight for it. So I think we have to wait for like another perfect opportunity to like have something
Mm.
like that happen.
Well, until then, you're preparing for Wodapalooza. You're
Yes.
going to prepare for the season. What is your ultimate goal going into this next CrossFit season?
Jeez, just to stay injury free. I just want to compete at the CrossFit Games for all the days. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. Like, oh my God. That's it. That's all I want. I just want to go and compete for the 5 days at the CrossFit Games. That's all I want. That's it.
I think that's a great goal. We're all going to be cheering for you.
I appreciate it.
The most important question, though, what are you being for Halloween?
Oh, I can't tell you that yet. It's a secret.
Are you going to put little like teasers on Instagram, or how are you going to let us know?
I mean, I have like 4 different things, and so like my usual standard, like I'll have like a little photo shoot with like a couple of my things, and then I'll have like my main costume and all that kind of stuff. So I'll start putting out like little things, but it's coming. I'm so excited. Like I'm getting like all. I'm like so excited. Ooh.
Any hints?
No.
Not even one. Just something small. Like, is it a reference to like a movie, or like, is it scary? Is it sweet?
I've got like 4 different things that I'm gonna like do different things with.
Okay.
One of the ones is just because it's so popular right now. Like I'll tell you one because it's so popular. Yes. It's like something like Squid Games. So I'm gonna do like a little like funny photo shoot with some friends, like over like the Squid Game stuff. Have you seen it? The show?
No. What's it called?
You are the only person in the world that is asking, what is it called? Like you haven't heard of it at all? Squid Games?
Squid Games?
Girl,
I live under a rock.
The person on this planet that hasn't heard of this show. I'm kind of like, I don't even know how to continue this conversation because
I think that's the end.
Like literally you could ask anyone else, go ask, like when we got off this call, go ask anyone, pick one person in the gym and be like, have you heard of this? They're gonna be like, yeah, it's the number 1 show in the world. And you're just the only person who hasn't heard of it.
I don't really watch TV. Yeah. I guess I'm going to have to YouTube this later. Is it on YouTube? Maybe.
I think it's just
maybe like a preview.
Yeah, you could definitely probably like see some kind of trailer, but it's the number 1 show in the world, like on Netflix right now. Yeah.
Oh, I have Netflix. I can go watch it on there. That's what I'll do when I get home later.
It's just 9 episodes. You could be toxic for one night and it'll just be over. You could stay up to like 5 a.m. and get it done. Yeah.
All right. I'll have to update you as soon as I start watching it.
Text me when you like get through all this. Like I'm honestly, like, I am so like, I don't even know what to say right now because everyone knows what this is. I'm like, how did I find the one person?
Right. Like, is this girl even relevant? Like, how can I finish the conversation with her if she doesn't know what Squid Games are?
Yeah. Like it's honestly like me being like, hey, have you ever had pizza? And you're like, nah. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I've been put on that same playing field. I'm really going to have to go home and watch that tonight.
Yeah. Good luck. It's a roller.
All right. Thank you. I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
People learn more about you during this whole thing than me at this point.
Yeah. Everybody's like, okay. And now we don't even know what to say.
Exactly.
We're both speechless.
Yeah, I really am. I'm just kind of like I'm gonna fade into the background now.
Slowly get off the camera.
You said not to do that, I'll stay.
Yeah. Well, Dani, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of your spooky season. We look forward to seeing you compete at Wodapalooza, all of the qualifiers for the games, and can't wait to see all of your Halloween costumes.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. See you later.
See ya.